and go back to Mount Vernon. And so when he was going to give his, farewell address, he asked James Madison, at that time, who was really the author of the Constitution, or the father of it, to write the farewell address. So Madison wrote what he thought was a good philosophical statement. And then, because of so much turmoil, Washington decided to serve another term. So he put the speech in a drawer. And 3 years later, when he said, "I'm going to Mount Vernon regardless," he took the speech out and he gave it to Alexander Hamilton, who was his Secretary of the Treasury. And he's, you can imagine him saying, "Well, Alexander, I want you to put some finishing touches on this speech." And we look at it today as the combined wisdom of the father of the country, Washington, the father of the Constitution, Madison, Hamilton, who was the chief architect of our economic policies at the time, as being a unified statement about the basic principles of our political system. And this is what we should really pay attention to. These are the founding principles. These are the things that have continued and allowed us to have a free society. So when you read those, you find out that they looked upon faction as being an absolute horror. And they make no bones about this. And party is mentioned just alongside faction. So when you hear the word party in our two-party system, and if you start to think about the idea of faction related to party, you suddenly have a tool in which you can make distinctions and analyze what is going on in our politics today to make sense out of it. Because let's face it, politicians, it's the art of deception. It's putting up tens of millions of dollars for each candidate on television to brainwash the American public. And it's working. And we got to find some tool to be able to cut through this. Faction, I believe, really does this. And when you understand the background of the idea of faction and how it relates to party, you get even more insight into what these bozos are doing to our political system.
Yeah, very well said, Dan.
Yeah.
John in Downington, Pennsylvania, you had a question about the American Revolution of 1800.
Well, actually, my comment was more just broadly on revolution. I remember a while ago you had said that realities don't meet up. And what I found in trying to motivate people is that their expectations are way, way down.
Right.
And the most effective way I found to get them to raise their expectations is to actually tell them how things used to be, in the 50s, in the 60s, like things we had that we don't have anymore. And you'd be surprised how many of them have to run to Google and check. They just don't even believe that things were the way they were. And, explain how things